Ballard, what county are you from?
Lynn.
Okay, have you read Linmar's policy on this?
I have a little bit, they're not in my district, I have Cedar Rapids Community School District.
Sure, they're
I'm
close.
familiar with it, yeah.
Right. So you've not read the policy.
No.
Have you heard from parents in and around your district that are not happy with this policy? Have you talked to them and said, hey, how do you feel about this policy?
I haven't heard any that are my constituents. I have seen lots of comments on social media, you know, it was a big topic when it came out.
But you haven't gone and asked them, hey, how does this make you feel? You haven't gone and talked to those parents.
Linmar policy? No,
In
because they're
Linmar.
not in my house district.
Okay, interesting. So let's walk through the policy a little bit. This made national news. There's a lawsuit going currently. You asked me earlier if I had talked to parents about it, so I'm asking you if you're prepared to vote no, though you have constituents nearby that are being directly affected by probably one of the worst policies ever written in the history of the state at any level. And so I'm just curious, your thoughts on something like this. School staff should always check with the student first before contacting their parent or guardian. Do you think that the parents, even if you don't represent Linmar, do you think the parents in Linmar, and I would even argue Cedar Rapids, do you think that they would be up for that kind of a policy from their school in any regard?
I think it depends on the grade level, which if I remember correctly was older students, just like Representative Cahill was speaking about older students, I could be okay with. Younger, like she referenced third graders, no.
So you're okay, I'm just trying to understand you. So you're okay for a 13 or 14-year-old to just cut their parents out of vital information that they need.
Not for every decision.
But for this
But for
specific
this.
decision, you're okay. When a kid's going to be
Representative Wheeler.
excuse me,
You're doing closing comments,
I
not.
didn't ask questions.
Point of order. Representative Steckman, if you have a point of order, please state it.
I was trying
Addressing the
to.
speaker.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I have the right to question members, even if I'm closing remarks.
I agree, Representative Wheeler, and you may continue unless show some respect for each other.
Yes,
Representative
please,
Steckman.
please. I would like to have some decorum here and respect for everyone's opinion, which we've tried to do, please.
Representative Wheeler here.
Okay, so back to where I was interrupted on another point that was not upheld. Representative Ballard, you understand that the way this looks is that you are arguing that it is okay for 13 and 14-year-olds to withhold vital information at school if they're going by a different name. We're not talking about if they took Tylenol, or in my case when I was in middle school, if they threw sunscreen on me before I went outside. We are talking about them thinking about transition, or them thinking about using different pronouns, or them changing their name at school. We're okay cutting parents out of that. This is happening right in your neck of the woods. And you haven't talked to those parents. They talked to me. They've sent many of us several emails. This is literally national news. There is a lawsuit out there, and you're going to sit here. I'm just trying to just make this very clear. You're going to sit here and tell me that is perfectly fine.
I think that these students are going to somebody at their school rather than a parent for a reason. We discussed a lot of that. Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they don't trust them. Maybe it is an unsafe situation at home. I, like Representative Buck, am also a teacher, and we have students that we have got to protect. It's not that we want to cut the parents out. And I think when they're at an old enough age, and that might be debatable, also kids' maturity levels. I think about, I have an autistic son who in some ways is more mature, other ways is not. Maybe an age wouldn't be perfect for him. That would be for another child. But there's a reason that they're not going to their families. Doesn't mean we cut them out of everything, but this is kind of a unique situation. So, yes, I haven't heard from constituents on this issue. In support of it, I have heard from plenty that are against it.
Okay, so as you state this, the parents that are upset about this, do you believe that those are the same parents as you were kind of alluding to that would mistreat their kids if they came out to them?
No.
That's essentially what you just said, though, is that, well, we have to protect the situation. I've yet to be given a single situation that actually proves this, but these parents that are upset, essentially what is being accused of them is that if this is found out, that student is going to be harmed.
I don't agree that that's always the case.
Well, that's what's coming out. said, it is interesting to me that a member of the legislature is okay with withholding this kind of information from parents. Thank you. Mr. Chair, would Representative Madsen yield?
Representative Madsen, will you yield?
I will.
Your Honor, Representative Wheeler.
Thank you, Representative Madsen. Representative Madsen, if you have a constituent who is 12 that comes to you and says this is a bad policy, and that same parent comes and says it's a good policy, how are you going to make the decision?
How would I make the decision
Correct.
about whether or not I think it's a good or a bad policy?
Correct. Who are you going to listen to?
I wouldn't just listen to just those two people. I would be taking all of the information that I'm getting into account, plus my own principles on it in order to make a decision.
Who matters more, the parent or the child?
Who matters more?
Who matters more in this case? Who needs to know the information? Is it okay for the child to withhold that information from the parents?
I think it completely depends on the circumstance.
Is it okay for the school, if they know, to withhold that information from the parents?
I think it depends on the age.
Is it
It depends on the
okay?
circumstance.
Is it okay in this case, of the topic that we're talking about, is it okay for the school to withhold that information from the parent?
I think privacy matters.
I heard what Representative Curtis said, but again, is it okay in this situation, in a situation that is this big, is it okay for the school to withhold that information from the parent?
As I said earlier, there are students who, for any number of different reasons, essentially part of what Representative Cahill said, that are trying to figure out how best to make decisions, how best to have conversations with their parents. And it honestly depends on the situation. I think bills like this that assume bad intentions of others are not helpful.
Representative Madsen, you keep saying it depends on the situation, and that students have to basically work through this. Again, you were insinuating that there are multiple parents that would do harm to their child if this was to happen. That's essentially what that means, because it's easy to have a blanket opinion to say, yes, let the parents know, and the parents need to know.
I'd like to call a caucus.